back to RGR. This is Ryan. This is me going rogue on the Kansas City Chiefs as well as the NFL. We have to talk today about a couple of rumors. It's been quite a bit since I did one of these. Actually, it hasn't because Lev Bell rumor just happened before. It actually did happen. But before that, it's something we usually see in the offseason. But this is October. And this is becoming the time when trade deadlines loom and ideas get tossed out there. If you're new to the channel, make sure you like and sub and click the bell notification now so you know what happens when we release new videos. We do all kinds of film review, game planning, tailgating, as well as the live Q&A that happens every Monday night at 7 o'clock Arrowhead time. So we have that as well. But today we're going to talk about the two rumors that are floating out there. And got a lot of questions about these. I know you guys love rumors about new acquisitions. One of them happens to be something that I think could work. It's a long shot, as are both of these, but you never quite know. And what it is two players that have kind of run their course in the places that they are currently at. Places that don't use them or don't value them the way that they feel they should be used and valued. And that comes down to one, John Ross in Cincinnati, the guy who set the mark to beat at the combine for his straight line speed. That was 4.22 at the combine when he was in the draft process. Now, life in the NFL has not worked out that well for him. He still has the ability to stretch the field. It's just staying healthy has been the number one thing that has not happened. As a part-time player, if you were to acquire him and bring him to Kansas City, again, he gives you an option to run down the field. Living through contact and surviving very often is not something that I'm really going to place on him until maybe he gets a chance to be in a different training room for a good year or two. Maybe that's something that the Chiefs think that they might want to value. Clearly, the injury to Sammy Watkins places a little bit of stress on the wide receiver group. They have plenty of options, but nobody that quite has both the tenacity to run routes physically and the speed to get loose. So they have to piece that together in the meantime with Demarcus Robinson and Byron Pringle. And they may be perfectly comfortable with that. They also have some guys down on the practice squad like Jody Fortson that they could bring up should they want to. Marcus Kemp's there. So it's a stretch, I think, to look at acquiring a speed wide receiver like John Ross for anything more than a throwaway draft pick. Quite frankly, the fact that he's seeking a trade and has permission to seek a trade, as we understand it at this point, does not mean that anyone's going to bite on that. The value is very, very hard to prove for his tenure in the NFL. It just makes things all the more difficult to risk spending draft capital on it. So you could see that the more likely scenario is that eventually he will be released. Teams may not be willing to bite on him at the current cost. And if it's the Chiefs, I think you have such a plethora of weapons already. Anything more than a low and last pick of the draft, 7th rounder from the Chiefs arsenal is not anything that I would spend. I can't see them reaching out and doing much more than that either, unless there's some kind of a player for player swap that they could pull off. And then I think they could probably be interested as well, just to see what you got. It is another kick the tires on a guy that's reaching the end of his rookie contract. And that's really what it comes down to. I don't think you can project much more beyond that. It is a risk, but it is, if it's value enough, it is something that they could take a look at. The one that's more intriguing to me is A, higher value, and B, has a much more storied road. And that is David Njoku in Cleveland had requested a trade over the offseason while he was not happy with the fact that they had gone and acquired a couple more players that play his position. Now, this is an offense that's supposed to run through the tight end. And while they do have a very effective run game when their backs are healthy, with Nick Chubb currently on the sideline, that makes things a little bit difficult. But otherwise, they have the wherewithal to get some things done. But beyond that, it just doesn't seem like they're using him to the extent that they could. That probably rests on the shoulders of the quarterback as well as the head coach. But he clearly seems to be frustrated yet again. The rumor is that he has requested a trade yet again. And while I can't independently confirm that, a couple of sources that I do put some reliance on do seem to feel that that is the case. Whether that could actually come about or not, I don't know. But I will tell you this. The backup tight end position has not panned out the way the Chiefs wanted. Ricky Seals-Jones has not become the receiving threat that they had hoped for. He did finally get onto the field against the Bills, but it was very, very limited, and you don't know what you have there yet. And maybe that's plenty of reason to just shy away from the Njoku thing completely. But if they are looking for a guy that has the athleticism to play in this offense, to do some of the things that Travis Kelce can do, this is a player in Njoku that they could look for as, again, another piece to add to the puzzle. Again, this comes back to value, and I think the Cleveland Browns are going to drive a hard bargain. They spent draft capital on him. They're going to want it in return. Maybe it wasn't their choice, and so maybe they let him go at a discount, that kind of thing. If I'm Brett Veach and Andy Reid, it depends on just the urgency of what I feel. Because on one hand, you can say that with Travis Kelce on board, you don't have to rely on a player to be the TE2 and produce. So you don't want to give up a whole lot of value for that. On the other hand, you can take a look at it in a more pragmatic way and say, as we see through this evolution of the way teams are playing them, the cover 6, the cover 4, the evolution of 7 and 8-man coverages that the Chiefs are facing week in and week out, that is something that you can use the tight ends to attack. And while we've seen that, Travis Kelce has had big games. He has been the guy that does get loose. It hasn't been Tyreek Hill, as we saw against the Bills. Didn't get the over-the-top routes. It is Travis Kelce that's been pulling this team through, so he is that critical. And if you are pragmatic about it and look at what happens if Travis Kelce sprains his ankle and he has to miss 3 or 4 games, what do you do? Because right now there isn't a viable option at the tight end position beyond Travis Kelce. And that's what it comes down to. So could it create a formula where they do want to go out and inquire at least about the acquisition of somebody like David Njoku? I think it is probably a little more likely than it is with Ross. But again, this is going to be value for play. And because he hasn't been as productive as you would hope, you'd like to not have to spend a first or second day selection on trying to acquire him. I certainly wouldn't. My guess is that his value is somewhere around a 4th or a 5th in the eyes of the team trying to acquire him, whether it's the Kansas City Chiefs or anyone else. And I just doubt that the Cleveland Browns believe that that's his value. So I don't see it actually happening. We'll see if it comes around. But those are the big rumors of this week. Let me know what you think. Could either of these scenarios work out in your mind? Do you think that they should, even more importantly? Put that down in the comments. Let us know how you feel. If you're not subbed, click the like and the sub and the bell notification right here, right now. We appreciate your time. We'll be back with the film reviews later in the week. Don't miss a video as we start to crank it up as these Chiefs run it back. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you next time. Thanks for watching this video from the team at RGR Football. Click these videos to see more and subscribe to RGR Football.